Good evening, UK Crime Book Club. Thank you for coming back and joining us. Look, I'm almost human coloured today. It's really good. I have got the absolutely gorgeous Peter Boon, and we're going to talk about his book. So come on, show off your book covers and introduce yourself.
Firstly, I'm not called absolutely gorgeous very often, certainly not for a long while. But luckily, my book covers are a bit more gorgeous than I am. So this was my debut, Who Killed Miss Finch, which came out last August. This is probably the most kind of recognisable and most kind of well-known of my books. If you've seen this around, cozy mystery, set in a school where a horrible head teacher is murdered. I'll be talking more about the series in a little while, but you could hopefully see the school theme from that. Then,
excuse me.
I went all wintry, even though where I live down near Eastbourne, we never ever get snow. So it was more in my imagination. But this was the Snow Day Murders, where the little village where my hero Edward Crisp lives was snowed in, and no one could get through, and he had to solve the crime. And then lastly, and most recently, just a little novella, about a quarter length of my novels, The Mystery of Jackson King, where a stressed out supply teacher walks out of school in the middle of the day, and then later on he's found at the bottom of the local cliffs, and it's real suicide. But his wife comes to Edward Crisp, our hero, thinking that it's definitely not suicide and that it's murder, and can Edward help her prove it? So they're my 3 books so far. I've got a couple more on the way, which I'll tell you about through the interview. Oh, just to say Happy Easter to everyone as well.
Oh yeah, Happy Easter. How could I forget that, of all things? Excuse me. We've already got a few things up there, but before we even get going, so as you can see, I've got behind me really lovely signed copies of Who Killed Miss Finch, The Snow Day Murders, and my mum stole this afternoon during our socially distanced garden visit. She's nicked The Mystery of Jackson King.
Oh, I didn't even notice them behind you when we were talking before we went live. Oh, that's nice.
I've arranged my shelf better today, so they're either side of my head rather than me like this to show them off. It's a bit better organised today. So, Kaz says hello to us both. Hello, Caroline. She's reading Who Killed Miss Finch at the minute.
Oh, lovely. I hope you enjoy it, Caroline. Let me know who you suspect as you go along.
She always says she can never figure stuff out, but I suspect reading as many crime books as she does, she must suspect people at some point. But I don't think so much with yours. There's been, like, I've not figured stuff out.
The first one, the one that Caroline's reading, Who Killed Miss Finch, a few people have. That's the one that people have guessed, really. Snow Day Murders, me and you were just discussing because you've just read it. No one's worked that out fully yet. And Mystery of Jackson King seems to have fooled most people as well. But I try and do, like the old kind of classic crime novels, like the old Golden Age whodunits. I try and do it so every single thing, every single clue is there if you look carefully, and I try and go for that kind of kick yourself effect at the end. That when
I was just going to say the exact same thing. When you finish and you look back, kicking yourself.
You miss things and then you kick yourself, and that's what I aim for. And obviously, I kind of come up with my clues, and then I as I'm writing, if I come up with other ones, obviously you go back in the edit and kind of plant things there. But from Miss Finch, there's clues there from the very beginning, from the first chapter, if you notice them. I have quite a few readers who told me that they go back once they get to a certain point in the book to try and kind of look for clues and try and see if they can find it.
I never do that. I think that's cheating. I think make notes as you go along if you have to, but I don't go back until I'm right until I've finished. Unless there's something that I'm not sure of. So if I've not understood something, but that didn't happen, I understood everything, but I still couldn't pick up on the clues.
I sometimes do. When I'm as a reader, if I'm suspicious of something, I might go back and check, like a particular character. I might go back and read like when they first came in it and see if I missed anything like that. But obviously, the way to do it is, and as any other crime writers watching will know, is like a misdirection and hiding in plain sight and red herrings. So if I put a clue in there somewhere I might then have something else happen immediately after that would then distract me from it.
And it works, as we've just talked about. So Kaz has said hello, TG, hello T, and Donna says hello to us both.
Oh, hello.
T's being cheeky already. What's in the cup tonight, Sam? Lager.
Is it actually? I've got tea.
I know, I don't know what you were thinking. Rookie mistake.
In my Wizard of Oz cup.
I've got my Wonder Woman.
I swear you said bring a cup of tea.
Well, I said in the first post, I did say tea or beverage of your choice.
Oh, okay. Yours is disguised as a cup of tea. You could have got away with it.
I'm always honest about what's in my mug. Last week it was water. Just water.
Was it, or was it straight vodka?
I can't stand vodka. Oh, no. No, lager's about as strong a drink as I can have to sip while we're... You don't want me on camera with vodka. Kaz says, please tell me you've worked in a school or know someone who has. They are uncannily accurate in places. So, you know, I'm a TA. Kaz is a teacher.
Yeah.
So go on, tell everybody what you do.
Yeah, so I've worked as an English teacher for years, and obviously I chose a school-based setting for that reason. I'm an English teacher. I didn't want to give Edward Crisp the same job as me. I didn't want to make him a teacher, and that's part of his own character, as you see his arc as you go through the books. That he's a bit disappointed with where his life went. So he is a school librarian. And he could have done maybe a bit more with his life. He could have been a teacher or a writer or a detective, but he has social anxiety and hasn't got to that stage. But yeah, the school setting is very much based on my own experience. So I never went to uni straight from college. I worked all throughout my 20s for Co-op Bank head office, Co-op Insurance in Manchester. And then I went to uni part-time, doing English literature, part-time at night at Bolton University. From like 25 to 29, and then I quit my job at 29 just before I was 30, and I put myself through teacher training for a year, and then I've been teaching now for the last 12 years. So I started out in secondary schools, first in Manchester, and then when we moved down here, down close to Eastbourne, then I went into working in a big college down here, where I ended up head of A levels. I was there for 6 years. And for any teachers watching, FE, further education colleges, is kind of notoriously underfunded, and there's job cuts every year. I think at the 6 years I was there, my job was put at risk like 4 out of 6 times. Right. And I always seemed to do all right and get promoted out of it. So I ended up head of A levels, and then finally redundancy got me, and I got made redundant. So then I went back working at a school, at a lovely special educational needs school near here, just a small residential school. And then this takes us to last year when my first book was released, and I wanted to start teaching part-time then, but because it's a residential school with boys with special needs, they don't really do part-time as such. So I had to leave there, and now I'm working at a college again, just teaching English research for people who didn't pass English at school, just 2 days a week, and then I'm writing the rest of the time.
So you've been busy?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. David Gilchrist, lovely David, who is our founder and Kaz's dad, says hello.
Oh yeah, I know David, yeah.
Kaz says, stressed out supply teacher, never. Although Sam likes diving books, hitting her on the head. Will you leave me alone, Caroline Maston? I'm getting some grief tonight. She's already saying something about we do want me on camera on vodka. No, you don't. Luckily, I don't drink vodka. Not a chance. So, and she's gone back to, she never figures them out, and she loves Noah as a character. He's ace.
Everyone says that. He's my, other than obviously Edward's the narrator, Noah's my absolute favourite to write. And everyone always says that. Lots of reviewers and people who contact me say that they love Noah. So for anyone who hasn't read them yet, Noah is a teenage character. So Edward is the school librarian, and quite often in schools you get student library assistants. So Noah is the student library assistant at school. So he's Edward's assistant in the library. He's 16 in the first book. The first book is set in the summer holidays, just as after school has finished for the year. So he's just left school and waiting his GCSE results. Noah has autism, the particular type of autism that used to be referred to as Asperger's syndrome, and now it's all just on the autism spectrum. But Noah has kind of typically what we always referred to as Asperger's syndrome. He's kind of very bright, very smart, very funny. He does have good social skills to an extent, but he kind of blurts out things without thinking, and he has a bit of an obsession with classic murder mysteries. So this is why Edward and Noah get on so well, because they're both big fans of classic murder mysteries. For Edward, who suffers from anxiety, he kind of uses it as a bit of a comfort blanket. So when he has a bad day, he goes home and retreats into his world of reading Hercule Poirot, Miss Marple, and all Sherlock Holmes and so on. And Noah loves those kind of books as well, but Noah can't seem to kind of differentiate from reality. So when horrible Miss Finch arrives and takes over the school and makes it as an academy, Noah kind of makes a quite bold prediction that Miss Finch will be a brilliant murder victim, and Noah is convinced that she's going to get murdered on the launch day of the new school, and there's going to be a big murder mystery, and they'll be called in to solve it. And of course, we find out right at the beginning. I'm not giving any spoilers.
No, this isn't a spoiler.
The book's called "Who Killed Miss Finch?"
Yeah, not giving anything away.
So there's nothing given away there. So obviously, when it actually happens and comes to life, Noah, bless him, thinks that they are in a real life murder mystery and that they're the detectives. And he provides a lot of the humour of the book. I've had from feedback that he'll quite often say inappropriate things about them being detectives, and people will wonder what he's talking about. So an example, without spoiling too much, when the person finds the body and Noah's on the scene, Noah says something like, "Oh, this is absolutely perfect," because obviously he's pleased that his predictions come true. But to the kind of bystanders who don't know,
everybody else is horrified.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a very popular character, and I've actually had a couple of kind of constructive criticisms that they want him in it all the time, and because obviously he provides the comic element and he's a great character, but sometimes when I need to kind of forward the investigation and forward the narrative on, being true to Noah's character, we'd be asking kind of certain questions and making certain statements. So sometimes it's kind of necessary in the plot for Edward to kind of give Noah something else to go and do to pacify him while we kind of move the plot forward a bit.
And it works really well. I mean, how that's always done, it's always a really good specific task that he's really useful at, and he needs to be out of the way, like you say, for a bit of a more serious thing to happen.
Yeah, and I try and find the balance right. Like Edward humours him sometimes and kind of reminds him that Poirot would used to send Hastings off, or Holmes would send Watson off to do something. It's a very fine balance, especially kind of with Noah having additional needs, because I want people to laugh with him, not at him.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think hopefully, touch wood on my desk that I'm at here, that I've got that balance right so far.
Yeah, I think you have. As you know, I'm a TA and I work with SEN children, so if it wasn't right, I'd have put the book down.
Yeah, and I think
There's
obviously because I've worked in schools for a long time, and my last school particularly as a special education needs school, there were quite a lot of boys like Noah, but he isn't based on any one particular person. He's bits lots of different students that I've taught over the years.
Of course,
but I think he definitely brings I think he's probably one of the most appealing parts of the book, I think, and he gets a lot of praise. So I've no plans for him to go anywhere.
Good. I've caught a comment from Alex Gates that says, "I love Edward's mum too." Now you had to put a disclaimer in the front of your book that the crisps are not to your parents.
Oh, I put that in the acknowledgements to the end, didn't I? Oh,
is it at the end?
Just to say hello to Alex. Alex Gates is a fantastic reader of mine. She always writes, shares lovely posts, and kind of gives me lots of kind feedback. So I'm glad to see Alex here. So hello, Alex. So if my mum and dad are watching and they know this, they're not Edward's parents. Edward's mum, as Alex just mentioned, is another source of comedy.
I absolutely love her. And Dad with his music choices at appropriate moments just tickles me.
Yeah. So Edward's mum and dad run the village pub. I haven't even mentioned much about the village yet. So Chalk Gap Village is a little tiny seaside village. It's a kind of little seaside village. It's a set of the sea in between cliffs. It's only got one village pub, which Edward's family run. So they are meant to be retired, and Edward's long-suffering brother is meant to have taken over. But mum and dad are always, as you will find out, sticking the noses. So dad is the karaoke DJ, which is inspired by, obviously not for over a year now because of lockdown, but one of my hobbies is karaoke. And every Friday night, me and a kind of group of us go to our local karaoke on Friday nights. So that's very inspired by there. And I actually help out with the karaoke now, so I kind of wanted to bring that into it. So Edward's dad does karaoke, and Edward's mum spends most of the time poking her nose into other people's business and kind of overreacting to things. I kind of based her as like a northern version of Gavin's mum from Gavin and Stacey.
Never watched it.
So
I know who Pam is, but I've never seen it.
Anyone that's watched Gavin and Stacey, that's the kind of character she is. And she's always kind of gossiping about someone. And again, without spoiling too much, I've got a little running joke that she slaps someone in every novel, which she has done in the two.
I wondered if that's where you were going then. It's genius.
So, yeah, that's another character that I think provides a lot of the humour. And I think it's important, particularly in cozy mysteries, it's quite common that you would get like a group of supporting characters to kind of have in the background. And I think it helps with that sense of familiarity when people come back to a book and they want to see how the characters are doing in the background. And I think it kind of helps with that kind of that kind of warm feel you get in cozy mysteries. It's almost like kind of putting the TV on and watching like a little soap opera and finding out the goings on in Chalk Gap. So I started talking about Chalk Gap before, but I didn't say the real location. So I live in Eastbourne. I'm obviously, you can tell by my accent, not from there. I'm from Wigan near Manchester. We moved in here 10 years ago. And Eastbourne is a quite big town, but I wanted a little village that was by the sea. Now, everywhere by the sea down here was either too big or the little villages were inland. So I invented one. So just out of the Eastbourne are the famous cliffs Beachy Head, which you might have heard of. So I just made a little tiny village called Chalk Gap, tucked in between the cliffs. And I just made my own little fictional village, and that's where the characters live. It has one pub, a little high street. It's very much like a kind of Miss Marple, Midsummer Murders type village, but by the sea.
I love that. Kaz wants to know, are you ever tempted to do a Martin Edwards and put your list of clues you hide in the back? So at the end of Martin Edwards' books, there are a list of different things so that people can go back and find what they've missed. But it's literally listed out for them. Would you ever do that?
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. You might get your cheaters that go straight to the back and look at the list of clues. But that's a great idea. It's funny you say that because when I'm doing my planning, I've got like my books and I've got like everything on I've got like all charts on my wall and everything. I have my physical list of clues. And then when I'm doing the end, like the reveal, like when Edward is kind of revealing who did everything, I kind of tick off when I've mentioned them because I always make sure that I mention all the clues. But I've actually never thought of that. I've seen that putting a list of clues in the back. I do quite like that idea. I might steal that.
Seems to work well for Martin. They're still going on about me and vodka. Leslie Lloyd is here. Hello, Leslie. She says hello.
Oh, hello, Leslie.
We're wondering if you'd come, Leslie. Kaz says, poor you being an English teacher, secondary school's bah. Kaz is a science teacher.
Oh God. Yeah, I did mainstream secondary my first 4 years and then went into working in a college. And then when I went back into secondary, it was just a really small residential special needs school with 30 students in. I didn't really want to go back into kind of mainstream. But my experiences kind of are reflected in that. So as the book starts, the school is getting taken over by an academy that are coming swooping in, changing everything, which probably many kind of teachers and parents have experienced, and students.
Yep.
Miss Finch isn't based on any one particular teacher generally. Again, there are elements of kind of horror stories I've heard from other teachers and kind of little bits and pieces. But luckily, I haven't worked with a Miss Finch directly, so I'm sure some people have.
I've got to say, I will disclaimer, the school that I work at is lovely. I'm very, very lucky. So I've been there quite a long time now, and I'm very lucky to have a lovely team. But have come across it as a parent, but I'll tell you about that off camera. T wants to know, if you took one of your favourite characters out of the book, where would you take them for a meal? And who would you go out with if you could pluck the characters? So you said you've got your karaoke nights. Are any of the characters based on your friends that you go out with?
No, not really. From the karaoke, no. I've got a couple. Again, I think people are bits of people kind of amalgamated. So, Patrick, I borrowed his Spanish heritage and his surname from a Spanish friend of mine, but he's probably an amalgamation of like 3 or 4 of my kind of good friends. Same with myself. Like a few people have said that they see bits of me in 3 or 4 different characters. So that's what I try and do. I try not to kind of base anyone on any one person. But to go back to that question, who would I take for a meal and where would I take them? I'd either like to go for a kind of night out and gossip with Edward's mum, or I'd probably go out with take Noah out for like a burger meal or a McDonald's or something, and go and talk about all Agatha Christie's and Sherlock Holmes and stuff.
So you don't just mention Agatha Christie, obviously you're a massive fan, but there's quite a few authors that you mention at the beginning of Who Killed Miss Finch. I know Victoria Dowd's one of them that stood out. So let's talk about your favourite authors.
Oh yeah, so just for anyone watching who hasn't read, so the bit that Sam's referring to is when we see Edward's bookshelves. So just to go back a step, one of Edward's character traits is when he's interviewing characters or when he goes into a room for the first time, he has this thing where he always looks at the people's bookshelves and see what books are on the shelves and to see what it tells him about them as a person. And then we get a scene in Edward's front room with Edward and his housemate, and we see Edward's bookshelves were completely not inspired by my own bookshelves at all. Not, but all the books are all overflowing everywhere. So there's piles of books everywhere because he's got too many books. And his housemate kind of jokingly kind of pulls his leg about that because they can't move the books everywhere. So what I wanted to do. So what I know, probably UK crime book. Well, probably everyone watching this now is kind of nodding their head, or their long-suffering partners in the background, husbands and wives in the background. I think we all do it, don't we? To be read piles that never end. But yeah, anyway, when we get to Edward's bookshelves, I thought I do mention quite a few old crime classics, but I thought it would be quite nice just to throw in a few names of kind of authors that I've got to know while I was writing, and kind of smaller, kind of independent authors or authors that are just starting. So a few of my friends that are indie authors are in there, and Victoria Dowd, who I know is a member of this group and might or might not be watching. Hello, Victoria, if you are. A good friend of mine. I just wanted to mention some kind of authors just as kind of classic crime that Edward would read. I thought there was like a nice tribute to a few of my author friends.
I think that's lovely. I think I will be stealing that. Absolutely stealing that. Kaz is saying that Edward's mum's fab as well. Remind me, I can't think of the first names. I think of them as Mr. and Mrs. Crisp.
Linda Crisp. Linda and Casper is mum and dad.
Love that. Linda and Casper.
So, so we talked about this already, Sam, but what I did was, obviously I wanted to set it down here in Eastbourne, but I wanted to kind of honour my northern roots a little bit as well. So I made them from Wigan, which is where I'm from. So they're kind of a classic kind of like northern couple. So kind of based on, I kind of borrowed lots of the kind of humor and kind of like classic couples that you see on like Coronation Street and so on. Although there is a kind of another funny story as to why I did that. In an early draft that my editor read, at first Edward was just completely.
So where was your editor from? Before you tell this story, because obviously I know the story. Where was your editor from? Were they from down south?
Yes, but he
Right.
had parents. He had grandparents up north, so he knew some of the northern traits of the language.
Putting you off halfway through it.
Okay, yeah. So we were just talking about Edward's northern roots, and I was just I said it kind of went into my northern roots because I moved from from Wigan down to Eastbourne about 10 years ago, and I wanted Edward to do the same. But one of the reasons I did it was in an early draft, Edward wasn't from up north; he was just from this local area, and it's obviously written in first person narrative. Just with Edward, like it's like Edward's kind of journal that he doesn't show anyone, but Edward's just like telling the story in kind of conversational first person style. And my editor said there were too many kind of northern expressions and it sounded too northern. And then I thought, well, why not just make it northern? Because it kind of fits. If my voice as I'm writing it is coming out with northern expressions, it seems to fit that Edward would be northern, and I thought it would be a nice tribute then to kind of Wigan and where I'm from, and it's worked out really nicely. And I think one of the reasons I've done moderately okay with it so far is I've had kind of the backing of not one but two kind of hometowns, which has been really nice.
I think it's lovely as well because when we were talking before when we were doing the promo, we were having a chat and I mentioned Wigan, and then we got talking about Haydock. So we do have some heritage in common.
Yeah, so we found out, didn't we, Sam, that our mums are both from the same
round the corner from each other.
Same little town, Haydock. So, which is a small. Say I live down here in Eastbourne now. It's a small world, isn't it?
It is a small world. We've got Tony Millington. Hi, Tony, saying hello, and Kaz saying hello again. So, and from T. So they're all coming back slowly. But I'll go to the questions from the previous feed. So we're definitely back online.
We just had a quick advert break.
We did. So. Kaz had said, better than the kids I teach who have obsessions like buses in Eurovision. Are you a fan of buses or Eurovision?
Oh, I love Eurovision. If anyone wants a tip for this year's winner in Eurovision, it's going to be Malta.
Okay, interesting. I have seen nothing.
Our entry this year is actually really good. It's obviously not going to. It'll probably still be in the bottom half, but it's a lot better than it normally is. It's quite good.
So we had Kaz had said this is on the original feed. I'm going off the questions on the original post that we had. Kaz said, I mean, Noah's not wrong. She is a good murder victim. So that's obviously Miss Finch. She is a good murder victim.
Yeah, I've had that's another kind. I get quite a lot of the same feedback. So I have come feedback about Noah and Edward's mum being good characters, but lots of people message me saying that Miss Finch deserves it, or Miss Finch had it coming to her, or you can't blame anyone for murdering her. And it's interesting because I think she actually has 3 scenes and she dies in the first 10 chapters. But I wanted to try, in that short space of time, I wanted to try and make her as memorable as possible because it's my first book and she's the title character. So I wanted her to be kind of quite memorable, even though she only had like a small kind of role in terms of how when she's physically there. Obviously, the whole plot revolves around her death. But I wanted to be quite memorable. So I was going for this kind of Miss Trunchbull, Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter type vibe, but without making her too much of a caricature. Again, touch wood, hopefully I managed to pull it off, but I wanted to try and make her a memorable murder victim for my first book.
Yeah, you absolutely did, because you forget actually after reading it that she wasn't in it the rest of the way because she's so memorable and horrid.
But I think as well the appeal is like a few of us, like me, me and you and Caroline just talking about kind of working in schools. But even as a parent, I think everyone at some point has probably experienced like a nightmare teacher or head teacher or whatever, or when they were at school themselves. So I think kind of a lot of people kind of identify with it as well.
Yeah, everybody knows somebody or knows of somebody. There's always, even if you've not got kids growing up, there's always going to be somebody from your past. There's always something. Everybody's got one.
Yeah, so hopefully she was like a memorable murder victim for my first book, especially with her being in the title as well.
Yeah, I'd say she is. And Donna's lighting in the mood again. What's your karaoke song of choice?
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a whole repertoire.
Really?
My favourite one to do is probably, I always do, you're going to know as soon as I say this, all kind of cheesy ones. My favourite one is probably Barry Manilow, Copacabana, or ABBA, Does Your Mother Know? So straight away from them, you can see the kind of wheelhouse that I'm in with my karaoke.
Absolutely. How's your voice? Are you any good?
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you to sing, don't worry.
I can sing in tune. I've done bits of. I've used to be in shows in musicals growing up and in my 20s. And when I first moved down here, down to this part of the country, I was in Brighton Gay Men's Chorus, which was really good fun. Like a gay choir for a couple of years, and I did a bit of writing for them because they do the Brighton Gay Men's Chorus do their shows a bit like jukebox musicals, where where you kind of do like a plot around the songs. And I used to be on the script writing team there, so writing their scripts. And through them, I've had some of my work, part of writing their shows, performed at Brighton Dome, which is where ABBA won Eurovision. So that's a kind of really nice thing for me to have done. And it was a nice thing to do when I first moved down to down south from.
Good way of making friends as well.
So yeah, that was nice. I did it for a couple of years, but it was a bit far to. It was in evenings. It was a bit far to travel to, but I really enjoyed doing it for a couple of years.
Guess who's here? Your mum.
Oh, is she saying something?
It says hello, Pete at the side with the love heart emojis on the eyes. That's your mum.
Oh, hello, Mum.
Hello.
We were just talking about Hey Duck Mum. I don't know if you saw it. So I'll mention my mum while she's here. So she wanted to watch. So I added this to the group, but it's quite fitting actually as well because me and my mum both love kind of reading crime novels. My mum is a fellow Agatha Christie fan. Got me into it when we used to go to the library every week when I was growing up. We quite often kind of share recommendations and read the same books and reread Agatha Christie's together and so on.
You brought her to the right place.
And my mum's always the first person after kind of editing to read my books as well. So yeah, so hopefully Mum will like this group and we'll probably find lots of recommendations in here as well. Yeah,
prepare to be poor, Mrs. Boon. Absolutely, you will be skint, but it's fine. We've got, everybody's back again. T likes our Eurovision song for this year, and Donna says she's back again as well.
Oh, good. Oh, hello, Donna. Yeah, it's really good, the Eurovision song this year. It's quite catchy.
I haven't seen it. I'm going to have to go and look for it.
It was, have you heard of John Newman, who sang Love Me Again? It's his brother, James Newman. Right, okay. He actually did last year's, but last year's got cancelled. So they all released the songs, and then obviously got cancelled because of COVID. And then they gave countries the choice whether to keep the same artists again, but obviously they had to be different songs. But the song he did, so they kept the same guy, this James Newman. But last year's song was quite slow and dull. But this is a bit more catchy. It still won't go anywhere near the top 10 or anything. But hopefully
we never do it. We could have the best song in the world.
Before, Malta is my tip to win Eurovision.
We've got quite a few people that have come in to watch as well. No, Donna, behave. So Kaz is saying that her and her dad share books a lot. They don't always agree on what they like, but that's why they set up the book group together.
I didn't even realise they were father and daughter till you said. That's new to me. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, David comes up with ideas, harebrained schemes, and says to Kaz, right, there you go, that's my idea, off you go. And here we are doing live video chats. So it was when Harrogate was cancelled last year, which leads into a question I believe was from Alex Gates before. Hi Alex, just saying your name and you're back. Sorry that we disappeared, but I will put the videos on YouTube afterwards and edit out the beginning where we're trying to get everyone back in. So Alex asked if you're looking forward to any festivals, book festivals, once we can go off and do things.
I would. I really am. It's funny because I launched. Well, I started kind of promoting my book from last May, and it came out last August. And obviously, we were in the depths of COVID then. So I don't. In terms of being an author, I did my own book launch at a lovely theatre in Eastbourne in August because that was in those few months when we were allowed to do events.
Yeah.
Which was great. A local theatre near me, and I'm doing some more work with them, which remind me to come back to in a minute, and I will when I finish this story. But apart from the theatre, my whole author career has been everything's been online, which has been great because I've got to meet fantastic people like all of you and fellow authors and everything online, and I've got all these great online relationships. But I've not really done anything kind of in person yet, so I'm really looking forward to doing that. I want to go to if my mum is listening still. We've talked about arranging it of going to the Agatha Christie Festival this year in Torquay. We went to Torquay last year in summer again when everything was open for a little while.
English Riviera.
But yeah, I would love to go to the Agatha Christie Festival. But yeah, I'd love to start doing festivals as a writer as well.
You wanted me to remind you to go back to something.
Oh yeah, so the theatre that when I launched my book a couple months before it came out, a local theatre contacted me and asked if I wanted to do a book launch there, which I did. And then I've started doing some more collaborations with them. So they've helped me record the audio book for Who Killed Miss Finch, which I've narrated myself, and we used all their equipment, and I'm just currently editing that. But as well, we're doing, it was originally meant to be last September when it was Agatha Christie's anniversary, but I'm going to be doing an Agatha Christie night for them where I'm going to do a talk on Agatha Christie, and then we're doing a little reading of one of her short plays, The Rats, which I'm going to be helping them direct. So we're rescheduling that for this summer, I think, and then we're also in talks to do a radio play version of And Then There Were None as well. So wow, I'm pleased that I've got this relationship with the theatre, and something I'd like to do in the future is either adapting one of my own plays or writing something original, is write a murder mystery play. Because I don't know if I've told you the story, Sam. I might have done that. I first started out writing murder mystery plays. So when I was 14, I had a murder mystery play I'd written performed by a local theatre group. And that is the title of my next book after this one, Death in a Deck Chair. So that was so it's a kind of quite light, kind of comic holiday type mystery, a bit like Christie's Evil Under the Sun. And Death in a Deck Chair was the original title of my play I had performed when I was 14. So it's a completely different plot, but I thought it would be quite nice to use that title, and it kind of fits in with a kind of light, kind of comic, cozy mystery feel that I go for as well. So I've got Death in the Closet out next month, which is about a popular, obviously fictional, but popular Premiership footballer who is about to make history and come out as gay, being the first openly gay Premiership footballer from the UK. And then he gets murdered before that's about to happen. And then Edward becomes involved, and it's about investigating who would murder this footballer as he was about to make history. So that's Death in the Closet, which is out in May. And then at the end of July, I think it's the 26th of July, I've got Death in a Deck Chair, which is going to be Edward's kind of summer holiday mystery. Hopefully it will be a nice beach read for cozy mystery fans. And that's going to be, like I said, my kind of little kind of tribute to Evil Under the Sun and Death on an Island, those kind of classic holiday mysteries.
So you've been really busy, so you've not been at this much longer than roughly a year?
Yeah, so it's 8 months since my first book came out on the 17th of August, so 8 months. So I've had 2 books, 2 novels and a novella out, so which is about a third of a book, and then I've obviously got 2 more to come.
That is busy. That is so busy. So how long did each one take you to write?
It's funny because with Miss Finch, I'd kind of done a lot of the prep for a year or two. I don't mean prep in writing, but prep in kind of getting myself ready. So I was kind of immersing myself. I reread half of the Agatha Christie catalogue in a few months. I was reading lots of books on story structure and so on. And then as it was getting closer to the time, I was then reading lots of books and Facebook groups about kind of marketing and launching yourself and so on as an indie author. But the actual writing, I would say my first draft I wrote in probably in about 2 months, and it's probably about 6 months total with all the editing and going back and forth.
Wow. So when you've got 2 on the way, are they both finished and ready to go?
No.
Which shocked Donna the other day when we were talking.
I know, because who was it you were interviewing? Was it yesterday?
So Simon McLeave yesterday, and I've had Nikki Smith earlier in the week as well.
It was Simon's, and Donna commented because he'd said about having something on pre-order that he'd not written yet. So Death in the Closet is pretty much done and is kind of being edited and redrafted and so on. And Death in a Deck Chair is kind of at very early stage. So I kind of jump back and forth and like to work on multiple things. And what I do is I have lots of kind of charts on my wall and notebooks for kind of my ideas and plots and so on. And I have Microsoft Word on my phone. So I kind of sit down officially at my desk like I am now and write on Microsoft Word, but I have the app on my phone and it kind of syncs up where you're up to. So quite often, as well as my kind of dedicated writing time, if I'm kind of just like lying in bed and can't sleep, or before I go to sleep, I might just do half an hour, either just writing a little bit more or just kind of editing or proofreading what I've read that day. So
just on your phone?
Yeah. And then obviously I kind of use my phone for kind of everything author-wise, really. Like I do all my kind of marketing and social media stuff on there as well. So probably between that and all the social media, everything, I'm probably most of the time I'm doing something towards my author work. But I don't even like that word work because I don't really see it as work.
It's like me with the book club. It's just not work.
I'm really pleased that I've managed to, with less than a year and only 2 novels out, that I've been able to go part-time at work and have half of my kind of salary supported by my author sales, which is great. And obviously my kind of medium to long-term goal in the next couple of years is to have to be able to support myself full-time as an author. And then as a teacher, there's always, if ever I needed to, there's always kind of bits of things you could pick up, like supply teaching or exam marking and things like that. But my ultimate aim is to be full-time as an author, hopefully in the next couple of years.
And that's really inspiring to me that you've managed to do that in such a short space of time. Just cut your standard working week in half or less than.
I know. I mean, we talked about this a bit last week privately, didn't we? But I'm amazed, really, like how kind of much Miss Finch took off. Because I'm an independent author, so I self-publish. And we were talking about this the other day, weren't we? I only ever planned to do that. Like I didn't even look at any publishing deals or anything. I've been reading quite a lot about self-publishing and seeing it on kind of social media and joined a few book groups. And I thought that it seemed like something that I could do and kind of do right. And I think like a lot of things in life, you kind of get out what you put in. And I realized quite quick the trick, and a lot of other authors that are watching this will recognize this, but it's just to make your work indistinguishable from everything that's traditionally published by the mainstream publishers. And that's what I try and do. I mean, I think I've got like really nice covers that I think help. And I think
they do really stand out, the covers.
And cozy mystery. I mean, I released mine about a month. We talked about this about a month before Richard Osman's Thursday Murder Club, but I think it was really good timing as well because that has kind of put a bit of a spotlight back on the cozy mystery genre. And obviously through lockdown, book sales have all gone up generally, haven't they? Because lots of people are at home. So I think really everything.
Me and Kaz were buying everything.
I know. I think everything just kind of fell into place. And I worked really hard, and I think that and kind of a little bit of luck, and Miss Finch was kind of quite successful. One kind of quite unique marketing thing I do that I don't really see very often is I market for adults and young adults simultaneously. So obviously I'm very inspired by Agatha Christie, but what I always see when I see any kind of famous authors or anyone being interviewed or talking about it, lots of people say that they started reading her from when they were a child, or it was their first kind of introduction into adult books or reading kind of adult crime. And I wanted to kind of create that where my books are mysteries for like all the family, and younger people can start reading them as well, especially because I'm an English teacher and I like promoting reading with younger people, and because of the school setting and because of the character of Noah as a co-lead, I think it works quite well for younger people as well. And it's hopefully paid off, because in terms of kind of Amazon charts and Amazon rankings, that's where I've done quite well. So I've quite often been #1 young adult mystery and thriller on Amazon, and I'm usually at the top or near the top of young adult detective as well. And that's quite good because that gets you the little Amazon bestseller badge. And I think Amazon promote you a lot more then, and people see you. And I think I'm just trying to make something that's kind of for all the family, really. So adults and kind of younger teen might read it, and then if they've got teenage children that they're trying to get into reading, they could get them to give it a try as well.
Which is what I'm doing with my kids. These books afterwards are coming off, and my eldest two will be looking at these. The two that I've got left after my mum stole one.
But I think cozy mystery as a genre is probably one of the genres that lends itself quite well to younger people reading them as well, because they're quite clean without really much kind of violence or swearing or anything. So I think out of all the different crime genres, that's a quite good genre to introduce kind of younger adults to for like the first kind of adult read.
Absolutely. We've got, this is just scrolling at the side of me. So T says she was born in Hastings but really likes Eastbourne. Have you a favourite walk there that gives you inspiration? That's a good one too.
Oh, that's lovely. Yes. So I like walking down the like the west side of the seafront. So where you've got the Eastbourne Pier in the middle of Eastbourne, going down towards Brighton and going like under the cliffs and Holywell. So I shared on my page last week actually. They've at the end of Eastbourne, end of the beach called Holywell, there is a little well that a couple of friends of ours have been involved in redigging, and that's really nice and really peaceful. Oh. And then obviously the walks up on Beachy Head as well are really nice.
Somebody's tagged GD Abson in this, thinking that they might find it interesting, and that is Corinne Ann Richards. So hello, Corinne. Donna still thinks we're all nuts.
Why?
I can't remember where we're up to when that message came in.
Oh, it'll be about the putting pre-orders on before you've written them.
Oh, of course it will be. Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you what I wanted to say. I wanted to say to Leslie Lloyd, if she's watching, Leslie, Samantha really liked the Burger She Wrote name. I know you thought it was a bit cheesy. So in my second
go on, tell everyone what it is.
In my second book, Snow Day Murders, they have like, you know, like you get like the Christmas markets, and
like there's little village square with the
and there's a burger van called Burger She Wrote.
That is genius. Leslie, you're nuts. It's genius.
I've got a friend who helps me come up with character names, and he works in street food in London, and he gave me that name, Burger She Wrote. I know Leslie mentioned she thought it was a bit cheesy, but I just thought I'd say, because Sam said before she thought it was brilliant. I think it's brilliant. It's a Marmite name, really.
No, it's perfect. I actually, when I was reading it, I actually said to my husband, guess what the burger van's called? And he kind of rolled his eyes though, so maybe he's a bit with Leslie, but he did chuckle. I thought that was genius.
And again, in cozy mysteries, I think you can get away with humour a little bit more. I try and like with certain characters, like we talked about Nora and Edward's mum, I try and have kind of like a bit of a humorous slant to it.
Donna's just said that is genius. She loves it. Kaz said it is a great name. Kaz is saying that she lived abroad when she was a teenager, and they used to buy massive books and share them to keep themselves occupied. Did you not all be
These buy what,
fighting over
sorry?
it? Massive books, loads of books as well, and share them to keep themselves occupied.
Oh,
I
that's
just
nice.
can't imagine a house that isn't full of books.
I know. I mean, I'm talking to you on my phone, and I've got my phone propped up, so I'm at the right height, and my phone is actually on a. You're actually on a pile of Agatha Christie omnibus editions. I've got one spare, so you might have seen that you get the Agatha Christie omnibus in all the different decades, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. So I've got the 20s one here, but you're actually balanced on my Agatha Christie omnibus from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Alex Gates has said Burgers She Wrote made them laugh out loud. I can't actually see from the image. I don't know if Alex is male or female or other.
Oh, Alex is female.
Female. I can't tell from the image from here. But yeah, made her laugh out loud. So yeah, it was me as well. But there's really good humour in all of the books, and I'm trying to think of other things that have made me laugh out loud. Generally, Linda. Just some of the things that she comes out with. A comment that I'll tell you what the comment was, but it was one of the things that Noah said to I can't say who it was and what it was, but one of the comments from Noah and Miss Finch was just genius. Really,
I'll probably
really
spoil the one.
Yeah, so I've just realised and stopped myself from saying it.
Yeah, there's a spoiler one at the end that's in my head, a line that I like that he says.
Yes. So what's this? No, I'll just stop. I'll tell you afterwards. I don't want to say anything. But yeah, that really made me laugh. We have only got 5 minutes left.
You're joking? God, the time's flown by.
What did we say beforehand? This is just going to fly.
know.
The amount we've spoken this week, that we knew it was just going to disappear.
Is there anything? I'm trying to think. Is there anything in particular that I've not covered? So I've talked about my next books that are out.
Give us the exact dates for. You've got the date for Death in the Closet, haven't you?
Okay, so Death in the Closet is out on the 9th of May. So that's the gay footballer one.
Yep.
And then Death in a Deck Chair is the 26th of July.
What if people want to buy signed copies? Can they get in touch with you and buy signed copies?
Yes, yeah, you can either buy them or send them and I'll do them, or I usually keep some of my own stock of all the copies, so I could arrange it. Yeah, so please do get in touch.
How would you like people to get in touch?
So my either on the comments from here, or if I'm on Facebook as Peter Boon Author, you can find my author page. Send me a message from there. So I'm on both Facebook and Instagram as Peter Boon Author if you wanted to check out my pages, and I update them regularly. And lots of my readers that have commented tonight, like Alex and others, are on there as well. So it's always nice to kind of see people on there.
Well, we've got UK Crime Book Club on Instagram and Twitter and obviously Facebook, because that's where we are right now. So anyone who wants to follow there. But I did put the promo video that we did, that's up on Instagram, so anyone who's missed it can have a look at that as well.
Oh yeah.
So just give us a quick recap of all of the books with the covers and a little bit without spoilers of what they're about.
Okay, so my very first book was Who Killed Miss Finch, which came out on the 17th of August last year. It's probably the one we've talked about the most this evening, so you're probably familiar with the plot. So I'll just say briefly about a horrible head teacher who gets murdered, and it's our introduction to Edward and Noah. So they're both murder mystery fanatics, and so it comes a bit of a shock to Edward, but Noah predicted it, that the horrible head teacher becomes a murder victim, and they get roped into solving the murder. So that's my first one. And then we have the Snow Day Murders, which is kind of I was going for kind of a classic winter mystery feel, like the Sittard mystery, or like Murder on the Orient Express, where it's snowed in kind of thing. So we don't actually really get much snow down here where I live in Eastbourne, so it was kind of my imagination / my memories from when I lived up north. But the whole village is snowed in. Obviously, when schools are closed, we call those snow days, so that's where the name comes, keeping the school theme. And the whole little village of Chalk Gap is snowed in with no one being able to get in or out. And Edward is asked to investigate the murder with help from the local police constable, who's a bit useless, but he's the only member of the police that's in the village. And the rest of it is with CID through Zoom technology and video technology. So Edward and the police constable are carrying out tasks while all the experts are on the other end of video calls. And I thought that was a quite good tribute to how we've kind of used video call technology and Zoom over the last year or so during lockdown. And then this is just a little short novella, about a third to a quarter worth of a novel. And this is The Mystery of Jackson King, where a guy's body is found at the bottom of the local cliffs. It's ruled suicide, but his wife thinks it's murder and asks Edward to investigate. So that's my 3 so far. And as we said, I've got Death in the Closet coming out on 9th of May and Death in a Deck Chair coming out on the 26th of July.
And all that's left to say is thank you. You've kept me busy this week with reading. Just realised I'm leaning over my microphone probably. Kept me busy this week with reading. I've not figured things out. I hate when I can't figure things out.
And happy Easter to everyone. And anyone that does like my brand of cozy crime, you're just in time to go and watch Midsummer Murders that's starting on ITV in a minute.
I love Midsummer Murders.
Oh, let me give a quick plug for something else. So I've shared this on the Facebook page, but tomorrow night, for any Christie fans, there's a brand new documentary about Agatha Christie and Poirot that's on Easter Monday night on ITV. So that might be worth checking out for any Agatha Christie fans. I can't remember what time it is, but it might be 8 o'clock with an ITV tomorrow night. And it's a brand new Agatha Christie and Poirot documentary. Well, I'll certainly be watching it, but I thought I would mention it for any kind of Agatha Christie fans that might be in the group.
Brilliant. Oh, God, we've got a lot of them. With our 17,000 members, there's a lot of Christie fans.
I know.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to everybody who's asked questions and commented. And we've got some lovely comments thanking you for a great interview. So,
thank you.
It's been lovely to books, people.
It's been lovely to see familiar names and some new names as well. Thank you very much for sharing your Easter Sunday with us, and hope to see you all soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.